Yo, what is up, everybody? We're about to get started here in just 1 second, getting the Instagram live stream set up. Awesome. Deborah already in the audience. What's good? Good to see you, Deborah. Good to see you guys. So, real quick, before I get started, I need to know, is my screen lagging? For those of you that are watching on YouTube right now, can you tell me, is the video lagging? Because right now on my end, I'm getting a laggy video. It's been acting like this for the last several minutes. So, yup, Schwartz saying, yes, sir, it is lagging. Or you're just saying, yes, sir, what's up? Anthony, are we lagging? Anthony's saying, no, we're not lagging. Perfect. All right, so we are good to go. What's up, Karen? We're good to go. Guys, do me a favor. If you know that your friend's not here, make sure you send the invite out so that your friend can be here, because tonight it's going to be a solo dolo episode. Our boy Sam is busy. He's taking care of some business. Some big things are happening in one of his portfolio companies. So super excited for him. Guys, make sure you give Sam some love on IG. You're going to be hanging out with me tonight. We're going to be doing a fire mindset episode. And we're going over something that, funny enough, I reviewed with the audience, I want to say maybe about 7 or 8 weeks ago. And I broke down the 4 major life lessons. And I've been finding myself today really reflecting on this. I had some interesting conversations, got some interesting developments going on in my life. And these lessons are more timely now than ever. And so a lot of people, you guys have been paying attention to what's happening in the economy. You've been paying attention to what's happening in real estate, in the markets. You guys have seen the stock markets have been crashing. Crypto markets have been crashing. Interest rates are going up. And people are just straight up freaking out and losing their minds. And I want to remind you, it's okay. I want to remind you that the things going on in the market have happened before. This is not new. They have happened in the past. They will happen again in the future. And these are the times when fear, doubt, and uncertainty are at its highest. These are the times where entrepreneurs are truly able to shine, where investors, by locking in and having the right mindset and having the right heart set and posturing yourself properly, you're able to create wealth for yourself, but not just financially. I'm talking about inner wealth. I'm talking about mental wealth. I'm talking about spiritual wealth. I'm talking about becoming the person that is able to weather every storm. And the only way you know that you're capable of doing this is by, in fact, going through these storms. So count it a blessing that we have these interesting times to live through, that we have these tests coming at us each and every day, because these tests are opportunities for us to improve ourselves as individuals. And so this is going to be in alignment with what I'm speaking about tonight, which is going to be the 4 major life lessons. And these 4 major life lessons, I wish I can say I created them on my own. I didn't. See, most everything I've ever learned, most everything I ever speak about was, in fact, taught to me by somebody else. I am nothing more than a vessel that is simply passing on knowledge and information that have been beneficial to me on my journey. This journey of mine has not been perfect. I do not have all the answers. There are things that I have figured out that have improved my lives, that has helped other people along the way. However, I'm still very much on this journey with you guys. I'm maybe just a few steps ahead of some of you. In fact, some of you, I might be a few steps behind you. And I love when you guys reach out to me and we share conversation and I'm able to learn from you. And so hopefully tonight you're able to learn a little bit from me, from a mentor of mine. That mentor's name is Jim Rohn. Now, Jim Rohn has passed away, and Jim Rohn was actually the mentor to Tony Robbins. Most people know Tony Robbins as the guru of the personal development space. He's kind of the guy that ushered in the next generation of personal development. I mean, I like to say my life was forever changed. And I never even met Tony Robbins. I never even met Jim Rohn in person, but I was able to engage with them through their products, through their coaching calls, through their books, through their videos and their audio cassette tapes. I listened and I consumed that stuff when I was in a season of doubt, when I was in a season of trying to figure it all out. And one of the most important, the most valuable lessons that I would say Jim Rohn taught me was that in order for my life to change, I had to change. See, it was the first time anyone ever really made me understand this concept, that the world around us is truly a reflection of the world within us, and that we are in control of that inner world. We're in control of that inner game. See, we were blessed with this ability to have free will and free think and free action. And how we're using it is going to determine the results that we get in life, the sort of people that we attract, sort of things that we do. And so, towards that end, Jim Rohn taught that your life is like the changing seasons. He said, life and business are like the changing seasons. In fact, I want you to write that down. I got a pen with me tonight. I'm going to be drawing on the whiteboard for us in a little bit, but I want you to write that note down for yourself, that life and business are like the changing season. Life and business are like the changing seasons. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself. See, a lot of people might say, like, I'm originally from New York, and you might be like, yo, I don't like winter because you don't like it cold. I live in the desert now. Like, I don't like the cold weather unless I'm snowboarding on top of the snow. And so, I can't get rid of winter. It's impossible for me to get rid of winter. I can't just tear January off my calendar and be like, cool, we got rid of it. It's not how it works. So I can't change the seasons, but I can change myself. I can dress appropriately. And so each season offers different lessons, and we're going to go over these lessons. So let me pull out the whiteboard right now because this is going to be a game changer for y'all tonight. What's up, Kurt? Good to see you here, brother. All right. So we got the four major life lessons. And so lesson number one is going to be this. Lesson one, let's get this white. See, lesson one here, when we're looking at the seasons, is you need to learn how to handle the winters. Learn how to handle the winters. And what do I mean by learn how to handle the winters? Because again, winter is unavoidable. And what is wintertime? I mean, let's explain what wintertime is. Wintertime in your life is the time where you don't have enough money. It's the time where maybe your heart's broken. Maybe you just lost your job. Maybe you've got some uncertainty. You got more bills than you have the ability to pay for it. You've got credit card debt. You are, potentially in pre-foreclosure, like your business is failing, you just lost an employee, somebody in your life just died, right? Like these are all things that are a part of the winter season, the hard part of life. And in winter, we don't run from winter. We don't try to avoid winter. We don't say, I hope winter doesn't come. Like that's not how it works. Instead, what we have to learn how to do is we've got to learn how to get better in the wintertime. We've got to learn how to get stronger in the wintertime. We got to learn how to get wiser in the wintertime. See, winter is an opportunity for us to get better, to get stronger, and to get wiser. Because a lot of people, we start wishing, man, like I just wish these problems would just go away. Don't wish for problems to go away. Don't wish for life to be easier. Wish for you to get better. See, here's the thing. Life's not going to get easier. It never has been. It never will be. That's not how life works. In fact, you don't even want it to get easier because if it's too easy, it's not worth doing. And so instead of wishing for things to be easier, instead of wishing that entrepreneurship was easier, instead of wishing that real estate investing was easier, instead of wishing it was easier to find deals, instead of wishing it was easier to raise capital, it was easier to close sales, it was easier to build a team, it were easier to find your soulmate, it was easier to buy the house, whatever. Stop wishing it was easier. Instead, start wishing, I wish I were a better leader. I wish I were a better salesperson. I wish I knew how to underwrite better. I wish I could develop more of myself so I could become more. Winter season offers the opportunity for you to get stronger, for you to get wiser, for you to get better. In fact, here's an interesting thing. When I lived in New York, a funny thing about winter is if you look out your window during the winter season, beautiful snow, right? Snow starts coming down. And if you look at the trees, the same trees that just 6 months earlier were filled, green, blossoming. I mean, you couldn't see past the trees because of how much coverage there was. In the wintertime, though, it's bare branches. You can see all the way through. And a funny thing is, it looks like death. Like if you've ever seen those movies where someone's walking through a cursed forest and all the trees are dead, that's what it looks like in New York with the trees in the parks. Right? All the trees are dying seemingly. But the reality is, check this out. I learned this, that on the surface, they seem to be dead. They seem to be barren. It seems that life has been sucked away from the environment. But deep beneath the ground, under the earth, the roots of those trees are actually growing deeper. See, the root system is reaching deeper into the earth in order to gain nutrients, in order to soak up the still wet water, in order to get closer to the earth's core where it's warmer. And so in the wintertime is actually when the root system of the tree grows stronger. And check this out, if the roots did not grow stronger, that tree would not be able to grow as large as it grows in later seasons. Because what would happen is if the tree continued to grow, but the roots below did not, the tree would actually topple over. It wouldn't even be able to handle and hold on to its own growth. Winter season is actually what makes the tree capable of bearing the heavy fruits in the later seasons of the year. So, right now, if you find yourself in a season that is winter, stop wishing for winter to go away. Instead, respect the season for what it is. It's a time for you to grow your roots. And here's the interesting thing, when the roots are growing, who sees? Nobody. It happens in the dark. It happens at 6 a.m. It happens at 5 a.m. It happens on the weekends that you're not posting about on Instagram. It happens in the time after work is over, right? If you work a 9 to 5, what are you doing from 5 to 9? These are like, and by the way, like, hopefully it doesn't sound like I'm preaching at you, because these were the sort of things like I went through my own winters. I had my own seasons of isolation, of developing skills. Do you know how many times I've practiced speeches to nobody where I've stood in my room in front of a mirror and I just gave an hour-long presentation that would knock your socks off that nobody ever heard? Do you know how many times I've worked on underwriting deals to properties I've never purchased? Do you know how many fake conversations I've had to get better at sales and to get better at negotiating? Do you know when I wanted to ask the pretty girl out? Do you know how many times I stood in the mirror and pretended to talk to her and ask her out? See, we're rewarded in public for what we practice in private, wintertime. And so you want to remember that when you're in the winter seasons of your life, and there's going to be different seasons of your life where you enter winter. You might be in a financial winter. You might be in a professional winter. You might be in a personal winter. You might be in a relationship winter. When you're in these winter seasons, recognize them as seasons for you to grow, to get stronger, to get better, to get wiser. This is what we do in the winter. Winter is an important time. Winter is an important time. Please stop trying to take it off the calendar. In fact, yesterday I did a Instagram live. I did a YouTube live for the Into the Mind, and I spoke about a deal where I went through a winter season. Right, you guys remember this? If you were on yesterday's live, I spoke about how in 2022 I did a deal where I lost my last $5,000. I mean, I was down to just a few $100. I didn't know how I was going to pay rent, and I literally, after I lost the money on that deal, I sat in my bedroom and I cried. That was the winter time. But guess what? During that winter season, because now I'm on the other side, I passed through it. I'm able to reflect and see the strength that I gathered from that winter season. Because during that deal, I was able to be faced with my own character. I was able to see, am I the type of person that says and does what I say I'm going to do? Do I follow through on my word even when it hurts? Do I honor the promises I make to myself and to others? And when I lost those last $5,000, it was as a result of me honoring a promise I made. I could have easily run away and kept my money, but I honored a promise I made. That was a winter season. And as a result, I now have more confidence in myself. I know I'm going to show up to my promises. So let's get off of winter now, because what comes after winter? And here's the interesting thing about seasons, y'all. Here's the interesting thing: seasons follow each other, right? What comes after winter? After winter, you have spring. How often does spring come after winter? Every single year, at least for the last recorded hundreds of thousands, right? Like, spring always follows winter. And isn't that interesting? Like, I mean, what a great place to put spring. Like, you figure if you're going to put spring anywhere, put it after the hardest season. Like, yeah, because what's spring? Spring is a time of new life. Spring is a time of growth. Spring is a time where there's abundance and learning and joy and laughter. And so let's talk about spring, because here's what we got to learn in the springtime. So I want you to write this down. Season number 2 is spring. And in the spring, here's the lesson for spring. We've got to learn how to take advantage of spring. Now let's highlight this. right? We got to learn how to take advantage of spring. Why do I say that? Because here's the interesting thing. When you measure your life and you really start to look at it, you don't have an infinite amount of springs. You don't. There's a limited, let's say you're 30 years old right now, and let's say you're going to live to 90. So effectively, you only have 60 more springs in your life. What's up, Rax? Good to see you. You only have 60 more springs in your life. And so what you've got to do is you've got to learn to take advantage of the springs when they're here, because like I mentioned, spring is a season of growth. I mean, think about when you're a child. Childhood is a springtime season. It's when learning occurs the fastest. It's when you're totally enveloped in what you're doing. During spring, this is the time that you're able to start planting seeds, right? You're able to go out and you start to plant seeds in the springtime because things grow in the spring. There's life force coming to the spring. It is a bountiful time. And so you've got to do something with your springs. And here's what I'm going to suggest you do with your springs, right? You start planting in the spring. Get really good at planting in the spring. Because if you don't get good at planting in the spring, you're going to have to get really good at begging in the fall. Just being honest. You're going to get good at planting in the spring, or you're going to get good at begging in the fall. Because the springtime, while that energy, like you all know, remember when you first got into, let's say, entrepreneurship, or you first got into personal development, or you first got into a new sport or a new video game or trading or whatever it is, and you had that excitement about you, you had that high about you. I mean, you couldn't shut up. For example, when I got into parkour, I could not shut up about parkour. I would tell everybody. I would be like, hey, have you watched Store Blogs videos? Hey, do you know about these guys? Do you know about Extra Fort? Do you know about David Bell? Do you know about... I'm surprised I even remember most of this stuff because it was so many years ago, but I couldn't stop talking about it. And so I was in a springtime season. The excitement was high. The enthusiasm was high. I could stay up for hours researching and watching videos. I never got tired. I could go out and I could drive hours and hours away to meet up with community. I'd be on online forums asking for advice. Same thing happened when I got into real estate. I mean, I would consume and devour this information, and I didn't get bored of the conversations, and I couldn't get enough of it. All of these things are springtime. And so during these springtimes, I'm planting seeds, I'm learning, I'm taking action, I'm knocking on doors, I'm reaching up to sellers, I'm calling. And here's the interesting thing. Springtime, spring season, it's a bit of an unstable season because you have this influx of energy, this life force. Use it, run with it, right? Like if you're a young guy, I had a young guy the other day say to me, like, man, like I know I should be living a balanced life right now. And like, but I just stay up so late working on this project that I'm excited about. I know I should be going to sleep earlier. And here's the funny thing, guys, like as I do high performance coaching, I literally tell my clients, I want you to get 8 hours of sleep. I want you to have a schedule. I want you to do this and do that. And this young man, I gave him the complete opposite advice. I said, right now you're in a season where you are excited. My friend, you are in spring. You're in a spring season right now. For you to start using wintertime tactics, for you to start using fall time tactics or summertime tactics, it doesn't make sense. I want you to ride this wave while this wave is here. And I want you to understand this wave isn't sustainable. This wave's not going to last forever. Eventually, spring is going to come to an end. But I want you to pay attention on the screen. Take advantage of the spring, right? Take it like God has given you a spring. He put a little pep to your step. He's putting some blessings in front of you. He wants you to take advantage of it. He wants you to run with it right now. He gave you legs to run. He gave you hands to build. He gave you eyes to see. So use them in this season. Okay? Use them. Do not just let your springs pass because you only get a handful of them. You only get a handful of springs. So we looked at wintertime. What do we do in the winter? During the winter season, we've got to get stronger. We got to get wiser. We got to get better because winter season is a time for that inner growth. Winter season is a time to do that work that nobody sees. So that when spring rolls around, we can start planting seeds, right? Planting seeds is building new skills. Planting seeds is chasing your new curiosities. Planting seeds is going all in on starting your business. Planting seeds is building those relationships, staying up late, networking, making the friends, watching the videos, reading the books. These are all springtime activities. While the energy is high, ride the wave. Okay. Now, what comes after spring? You guys tell me. We've got winter, spring? What season's after spring? What season always follows spring, no matter if you're in North America, South America, if you're in Europe, Asia? What season follows spring? You guys tell me in the chat. I'm looking. We got 34 people on the YouTube channel right now. Oh, I'm sorry, 24 people on the YouTube channel. You guys tell me what season follows spring. I'm going to put it right here on the. All right, there we go. Rax is awake. The rest of you, I don't know what's going on. The rest of you are sleeping out there. There we go. Kevin's awake as well. All right, so Rax says summer. Kevin says summer. Chinmay says summer. Ryan says summer. Sam Cerrone says summer. Okay, awesome. So summer comes after spring. And so what's the lesson? Let's talk about summer. Let's scroll down a little bit. What's the lesson of summer? Well, the lesson in summer is this. You've got to learn to take care of our crops all summer. We got to learn to take care of our crops all summer. And you see, what's up, Tawana? You got to understand this, guys. In the spring, you're planting. Whoops. Wow, that's so interesting. My iPhone just started talking to me. These things are crazy. They are always listening. In the spring, you plant seeds, right? You start, look, let me use a analogy that you understand. In the spring, you start a business. You start learning about something. You're going to go and you're going to learn to invest in real estate. You start a wholesale company. Now, in the summertime, you've got to learn how to protect the crops, take care of the crops, because while those seeds start to germinate, they start to come up. The interesting thing is your crops are going to be attacked. The bunnies are going to come and step on when it's coming up, the bunnies are going to come. The bugs are going to start to eat at your crops. And so if you don't protect your crops, that's it. You're going to lose the good that you planted. And here's the interesting thing about summertime. Summertime is, the days are long. They start early, they end late. These are long days. And in the summertime, people are going to tempt you with, hey, let's go have some fun. You've been working all day. Let's go to the watering hole. Let's go swimming. Let's go out partying. Let's go. Like, come on. Like come on. You already planted those seeds. They'll take care of themselves. And a lot of people get tempted to run away in the summertime, to go and play in the summertime, or to go and plant new seeds in the summertime. But you have to stay and maintain the garden. You've got to protect the garden, because all gardens, all of crops will be attacked. All good things in this world will be attacked. Have you not noticed that yet? Have you ever noticed that, like, when you go out to start something good, it doesn't just get unquestioned, it gets checked. Right? Like the enemy is out there trying to knock your garden down. People are going to try and break your business down. There's always going to be somebody trying to come after your spot. So you've got to learn how to protect your good. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the reality of life, that you've got to stand guard of your garden. You've got to be a warrior in a garden, not a gardener in a war. And so you stand guard of your garden during the summertime. You stick to what you started. You finish what you started. In fact, a lot of people, when I was teaching sales, I would teach sales training to hundreds of entrepreneurs each week. And everyone would always say, I want to be a closer, right? Like people, when I would ask them, like, what are you trying to accomplish? Like, what are your goals? I just want to be a closer. I just want to be a closer. And people identified a closer as a person who could put properties under contract. And to me, that's like not the real definition of a closer. Right? That's just not what a closer is. A closer is not someone that just puts properties under contract. Here's what a closer is. A closer is somebody who finishes what they start. That's what a closer is. See, a closer, you're so concerned about the end result and identifying yourself by whether or not did I or did I not get the thing that I set out to get. No. It's, did you do the work? Did you see it all the way through until the end, regardless of the result? That's a skill you learn in the summertime. In the summertime, you learn to commit. In the summertime, you learn to stick with it. In the summertime, you learn how to say no in the face of temptation, because you already said yes in the spring to the garden you were growing, to the seeds you were planting. Does that make sense? I need to make sure that resonates with you because I want you to think back. Because if you're in a summer season right now, I want you to go back and ask yourself, hey, what did I plant in the spring? What did I say? What did I commit to? What did I say I was going to do? What were my goals? Maybe you wrote them down somewhere. Go back and reread them. Ask yourself, did I give it my all? Did I follow through? Or did I simply get distracted in the summertime? And did I treat summer like it was another spring? And I just tried planting more seeds. And now I'm pissed off that nothing's growing because I keep starting these new gardens, but I never stick around to protect them. I never stick around to water. That's a you have to self-reflect on this. Right? I know right now this is a little bit of a one-way conversation, and I just want you to listen today. I want you to listen, I want you to take notes, and I want you to reflect. It's not often that you get somebody to ask you these sort of questions that will help you reflect. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have someone in their life that will help them reflect this way. So hopefully I can be that person for you because I have those people in my life. And so I want to be that person for you right now. What did you already say yes to? Do you even remember? Think about it. And if you're feeling some type of way right now, it's okay. But go back and look. Go and review your springtime plants, your springtime seeds, so that now we can be in a summer season together. And in this summer season, we can understand that my job, my only job, my most important job in the summer is to protect the garden because these values are going to be attacked. Every garden needs protection. Every garden needs protection. Okay. Now let's keep going here. All right. So, wintertime, quick review. Wintertime is the season for us to get stronger, wiser, better, right? Winter is a hard season. After winter comes spring. Spring is a time of life. It's a spring time. It's a time of growth. It's the time to plant seeds, invest in skills, chase our curiosity. Summertime is the time to lock the F in. That's what you do in summertime. You lock in, you stay committed, and you protect your garden. You say no to temptation so that we can have the fall, right? What do we learn in the fall? In the fall, we learn to reap. Check this out, though. Without complaint. And also, and this is a two-parter, right? We learn how to reap without complaint. And we also learn how to reap without apology. I don't know how to spell apology. Let's say that's how you spell apology. In the fall, we learn how to reap without complaint. We learn how to reap without apology. Reap without complaint if you don't do well. Like if your harvest is little in the fall time, there's nobody else to blame. That's you. Like listen to me. I've had small harvest in the falls. I've had weak bank accounts in the fall, weak relationships in the fall, weak body development, weak personal development in my falls in the past. And you know whose fault it was? This guy's. It was mine. Because I didn't plant well enough in the spring. I didn't protect in the summer. I didn't continue to develop myself through the winter times. And so as a result, when the fall time came around, I didn't have much to show for it. And there was nobody to blame but myself. But then I got serious about it. I started to learn this. I started to recognize, the winter time, that's not a time to sit around and cry. It's not a time to sit around and bitch and moan. It's a time to get up. It's a time to work on me, to develop me. Then comes springtime, it's the time to lock in with new skills, learn those new skills. In the summertime, we commit so that when I came around to having a plentiful harvest, and I've had plentiful harvest now in falls, I was able to reap without apology. I didn't have to apologize for making money. I didn't have to apologize. In fact, I just saw a video. Check this out. There was a video on Instagram. It was a little reel that popped up of the CEO of Starbucks. And he was talking, the founder of Starbucks. He was in a court case and they were saying something along the lines of like, well, you have so many billions of dollars. You don't think it's right that you should give more of that to your employees. And now listen. Some of you are going to say, Marlon, he should absolutely give more of it to the employees. Others are going to have other opinions. But I respect the way he defended himself. He said, I grew up on Section 8. I grew up on housing assistance. We grew up on government food stamps. We could not afford anything, but we were in this country where I was sold this American dream. I was sold that a person, by their merit, by their work effort, they can go and build something. They could create something and make something of themselves, and they could pull themselves up. And so now that I've done that, you guys are demonizing me, right? Like I built from the bottom up. And now here I am in the harvest season. I planted, I sacrificed and I planted and I took on the risk and I took on the stress and I built all of this now to only be here in my harvest. And you want me to apologize for doing well? Is that fair? Think about that, guys, because this is what the funny thing about like the fall, right? Learn how to reap without complaint and reap without apology. Isn't it interesting that we have to be taught how to also reap without apology? Because the world's going to make you feel bad if you do well. And so you've got, again, this is that inner work. This is a lesson for you that you're going to have to get sturdy and strong enough in yourself, strong enough in your own convictions, strong enough in your mission, right? And a buddy of mine gave me a call earlier today, and he, thankfully, I'm grateful for that conversation we had today, because he reminded me that, there's a lot he reminded me of, but one of the big lessons I had is that God put me on this planet and he gave me a mission, right? Like when I was birthed, there was a mission. He's like, hey, there's something for you to do on this earth. And when I do it, I need to do it without apology. When I go out into the world, and the same thing for you, when you go out into the world and you provide your gift, you provide your value, you're a blessing to others, be a blessing to the world without apology. Do not apologize for doing well. And do not complain when you don't do well for the work that you did not do, for the seasons of life that you skipped out on. Nobody can help you out with that. And so these life lessons are things that resonated with me so deeply that I'm grateful to be able to share them, because these are things that I carry with me. And so now what I want to talk about is I want to bring it over into a part 2, if you will. All right. And I'm going to come back up here to full screen for a second. Ooh, I get excited. Rax, can you tell I get excited? Can you tell I love talking about what I talk about? Can you tell that I love what I do? All right. So I love that. Check this out. When looking at human behavior now and looking at these lessons and figuring out like, okay, I get it though. I understand these major life lessons. I get it, Marlon, in the wintertime. I should be working on myself in the spring. I ought to be going out and planting seeds in the summer. I've got to stay committed. So in the fall time, I can harvest. I can go and do the work of harvesting the fruit. I get all that. But Marlon, why am I not taking the action? I know logically that I ought to be taking the action. I get it. Like I've read the personal development books. I've listened to the podcasts. I've listened to the seminars. But why am I not taking action? Why is my behavior not changing? Which is what you're asking. Because check this out. In order for your life to change, it's not just about understanding this intellectually here. I understand a lot of things intellectually. I probably only do 10% of what I understand. Just being honest, I'm a human. I gathered more knowledge than I even have. Like I can gather information faster than I can even act on all the information. And 10%, what's crazy to me is 10% is actually pretty high in comparison to what I see other people. I see other people acting on just like 1% of what they learn. Now, the real high performers out there, the real high achievers, they're working on like 15, 20% of what they learn. And so how do we get to the place of not just gathering information, but moving to the place of implementation, changing behavior? Well, check this out. Your behavior changes when your identity shifts. Oftentimes, people are trying to create new behaviors so that they can create new results in their life, but they're unwilling to change the identity. They're unwilling to change who they are. And so you've got the same old person trying to create a new life, trying to enact new behaviors, trying to become a new person. It doesn't work that way. In order for you to start changing your behaviors, which will in fact change your results, you've got to change your identity. You need to step over and become the you 2.0. You need to become the next version of you. And so, how do we start to become the next version of ourselves? There's two main things to focus on, and we're going to talk about one of them for now, and maybe if we have enough time we'll get into the second. The first thing we've got to focus on is understanding what actually drives human behavior and human decision making, because your behaviors help shape your identity, right? Like, creating an identity is a choice, and that will be a whole see, I'm gonna hold off on that because that in and of itself, I can spend a 5-hour long masterclass on just talking about identity, the self-image, how to shift it, why it matters, and the inner workings of it, because that's one of my favorite topics. I've read about it at length, I've studied it at length. I work on my own personal self-identity and the self-identities of others. So I'm gonna table that conversation for another day. We're going to talk about the second half, the other side of that coin. The other side of the identity coin is behavior. Think about, how do you describe a person's identity? If I were talking about Rax and I said, hey, do you know Rax? You might say, well, who's Rax? How would I give you information about Rax? I would probably start describing, well, Rax lives here. Rax does this for a living. She's into these kind of hobbies. And I would start describing things that she does. I would start describing her behavior. And so behavior is the flip side of a person's identity. If you couldn't tell me who you are, how would I be able to identify you? I'd be able to identify you based on what I see you doing, how you behave when no one's watching. And so, what causes human behavior? What drives human behavior? It's decisions. People make decisions. People choose how they want to behave. That's your choice. If you don't believe that you have choice in your behavior, if you believe that you have no choice, then you're just an animal. You're just an animal running purely on instinct. And I don't think you believe that, or else you wouldn't be watching a podcast like this. You wouldn't be listening to me talk for so long. You would have tuned out 20 minutes ago to go eat some food or to go smoke some smokes and drink some drinks and do some drugs, because it would just be all about just one basic thing for you. It'd just be all about satisfying your bodily needs. But you're more than that, and you recognize it. So you're in control. Your mind gives you control of your decisions. Your decisions give you control of your behaviors. Your behaviors help shape your identity. So, what is it that dictates our decision making process? You ever think about this? I'm going to tell you what it is, because it's the same two things for all human beings. All human beings, we're all wired basically the same, which is our decision making process stems from emotion. Two emotions in particular. What are they? Pain and pleasure. The two most important emotions for humans: pain and pleasure. Everything that we do is for either us attempting to move away from pain or move towards pleasure. Everything. Think about that for a moment. Why is drug use at such a high in this country? Why is drug use such a high all across the world? Because what do drugs offer? Drugs offer an immediate escape from pain and an immediate blast off to pleasure. Think about that. People know the ramifications of drugs can ruin their lives, but they do it anyway because the decision making, there's so much removal of pain and movement towards pleasure in the immediate right now that they will forego future pleasure for the immediate moving away from pain, moving towards pleasure. And so you want to recognize this for yourself and understand, when you're getting yourself into a position of, that the business you're trying to build, that the life you're trying to build, that the spring season you're in requires you to lock in and start to make the calls. It requires you to go out and network. It requires you to learn the skills. It requires you to invest the money. It requires whatever it requires of you. What you've got to actually do is, the pain of not doing it, but you've got to intensify the pain. Because if you need to make the calls, but you're still not making the calls, what happens is you're saying that making the calls is painful, and there's rejection that I may face. And yes, there might be pleasure that I can get a deal done. But the reality is, I currently view the pain of rejection as more painful than the pleasure of potentially getting a deal. So because the pain is higher, I avoid the activity. What you've got to do is make the not doing of the activity. You've got to make the pain of not doing the activity higher than the pain of doing the activity. What do I mean by that? I'm going to tell you a little story. When I got into real estate, it was October of 2019. I sat inside of a 3-day real estate mentorship program. They taught me all about pre foreclosures. They taught me about wholesaling, lease options, fix and flips, buy and holds, short term rentals, long term rentals, the gambit. I learned all of that in a 3-day seminar. And at the end of the 3-day seminar, they said, look, if you want more advanced training, you can move forward. And at that time, it was a $25,000 program I had to invest in for 12 months. Now, I didn't have $25,000. I had $3,000 to my name. That was all the money I had in my savings. Then I had one credit card with a $3,000 limit. So pay attention, $3,000 cash, $3,000 credit card. Cool. We're at 6 grand. And I owned my car. I bought a Honda Accord. I paid 2 grand for it and I owned it free and clear. So my net worth, if I were to count all my assets, my net worth is 8 grand. Now there's this program I can invest in for $25,000 for 12 months. So essentially, this program is 3 times my net worth. And when the presenters presented it, they they had the vision. They sold me on the vision. I could have financial freedom. I could have the brand new life. I could become the person that I've always been curious about becoming. Right? I want to become that guy. And so I jumped into the program. And the way I got into the program was I had to get creative. One, I maxed out my savings. Two, I called my credit card company up the limit, maxed out my credit cards. Three, I called my mom, my dad, my uncle, and my girlfriend at the time, and I borrowed money, right? I used other people's money to now invest into myself to get into this program. Now, you guys might be thinking, Marlon, wow, that's so great. Well, here's the reality. The day after I did that, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I did what? Holy crap. I cannot believe I've got debt. For the first time ever in my life, I have a massive bill. Oh, like guys, I went through college. I went to my community college and I paid as I went. I worked. I've been working 3 jobs. I've been working jobs since I was 13 years old. I would pay for things as I go. I'm like a Dave Ramsey guy. I didn't believe in having debt. And so now I've got this debt hanging over my head, but it's like, okay, you know what? Deep breath. I'm in the program. I'm going to figure this stuff out. And so, guys, of course, your boy just gets calm. He gets centered. Mindset Marlon's born. I start closing deals, raking in the money. I got Lamborghini in the drive. No, none of that happened. I'm still living at my mom's house. In fact, the world shuts down because of the global pandemic. So now I'm freaking out even more because my jobs are all turned off. I'm on unemployment. I'm at home with my mom and my sister. I feel like a total loser. And I'm calling every day, like I'm going through and doing the work, and nothing is working. No deal. Month 1, no deal. Month 2, no deal. Month 3, no deal. Month 4, no deal. And here's what's starting to happen. I'd be on my computer. I've got PropStream open. I got the software for finding properties open in one tab. And then in the next tab, right next to it, I've got a website called Indeed. If you know what Indeed is a job listing site. I'm literally looking for jobs because I'm thinking to myself, I'm a total freaking idiot. Why would I think that this real estate thing would work for me? It's a global pandemic. What a stupid time to invest in real estate. Oh my gosh, I'm a knucklehead. And I wanted to quit. I wanted to stop. It was so freaking uncomfortable. And I was this close to quitting. In fact, there was one day I had the job application already filled out, the resume ready. I literally rewrote a resume. Like, guys, like the motivation's high when you write an entire resume, because I didn't even have a resume at that point. I had to go and make a resume. I had it ready to click submit. And just as I'm getting ready to click submit, my mind flashes and I picture myself Thanksgiving dinner in the future with my uncle. And my uncle sits down and he looks at me and he says, yo, didn't I lend you money? Like, how's that real estate thing going? And I'm like, like it didn't really work out for me. Like I stopped doing it. I'm just not built for the real estate stuff. And he would say to me, like, man, didn't I lend you a lot of money to make that real estate stuff work? Didn't you tell me that you were going to figure it out, that you got mentors and you were going to commit to the program and you were going to make it work? Didn't you say that? Like, those are your words. Am I correct? And by the way, guys, this conversation never happened. It only happened in my head. But the emotion in that imaginary conversation, the pain, the look on his eye, the look on his face, the way I felt in that scenario was like, man, that is a way more painful reality to lose his respect, to lose his faith. The fact that he trusted me and I let him down because I simply gave up because it was uncomfortable to make the calls. It was a new skill set to learn because I hadn't had success yet. I didn't reach my goal yet. That reality was so much more painful than the reality of just sticking it out and duking it out for one more day that I would stay with it. So my behavior was able to change because the pain of inaction was greater than the pain of action. Because between pain and pleasure, which emotion do you think is a greater motivator or greater stimulus, a greater catalyst towards a person taking action in the here and now? I can give you a hint. It's not pleasure. We like to think it's pleasure, but the reality is pain is a greater motivator to move you into action. Pleasure is used to direct your motion. How do I mean? If a person is sitting on the couch and you're trying to get them out of the house and you're like, hey, like, let's go play baseball because you know they like baseball. And they're like, nah, I'm not really feeling it. Hey, let's go to the party. There's going to be some cute girls there. Yeah, I don't really want to go. Right? These are all things that the person likes. But if you said, yo, dude, the couch is on fire, get your ass up and get out the house. Couch is on fire. They're up and they're out. They're running. They don't even know what direction. They run into a wall on their way out. Right? Because their pain will get you moving immediately. Now, if it's the house is on fire, dude, the open door, the unlocked door is over there. Ooh, unlocked door. That's a pleasurable thing in this scenario. So pleasure will direct your action. It will direct your steps. If you're in a season right now where you have been trying to change your behavior, you have been trying to adapt yourself to a new identity, to a new mission, to stay the course, but you are struggling to take the action day in and day out. I'm going to tell you this is the reason. Without even knowing you personally, I can tell you this. You have not associated enough pain to inaction. And the key word here, association. You can actually create the neuro association to pain. Do this. Do this for yourself. It is a gift from you to you. And it's so interesting. You know, Sam, when he's here, Sam likes to say, he's like, Marlon, you are one of the most realistic guys I know. And it's funny because I'm the mindset guy. Everyone thinks it's always just like this pure positive, farting rainbows situation. And guys, I'm all about the positivity. I'm all about the gratitude. In fact, the days that I give the most thanks are some of the best days of my life. When I wake up and I thank God for my breath, and I thank God for my friends, and I thank God for my life. And I experience the gratefulness I have for all of the things that I do have, my health, my mind, my relationships. Those are the best days of my life. Even if I don't make any new money that day, even if we don't close any new deals that day, those are the best days because I'm reminded of all the gifts I have already been given that I already own and possess right now. And so with that, I'm still telling you, even with that mindset, even with that perspective, I still leverage pain because this universe is both light and dark. And you got to stop looking at it's a good or a bad thing. That's so rudimentary. It's it is thing, right? The light is no better than the dark because light, guess what? Light casts shadows. Light creates dark. If it weren't for dark, light couldn't shine. And so pain and pleasure, if it weren't for pain, you couldn't know pleasure. If it weren't for pleasure, there would never be pain. The two create each other, the two need each other. And you, as an intelligent, willful human being with a beautiful, masterful mind, it's your ability to understand that pain can be used to move you towards your pleasure, towards your goal, towards your purpose, towards your mission. Pleasure can be used to pull you through the painful situations, to pull you away from the pain. And so the best way I like to put it is people like to ask, well, which is more important, having the carrot in front of you, dangling the carrot in front of you, or putting the fire behind your back? And I say both. Why has life taught you to be a this or that person? Why? Be a this and that person. I'm going to have the carrot in front. I'm going to put the fire behind me, and I'm going to get into motion on my purpose. Now, All of this to say, I'm hoping this is all resonating with. But I'm gonna say all of this right now too. Like after saying all of that, Rax, right? Like you love how like I'm coming at the end now and I'm saying like, okay, cool. After everything I just said, everything. After saying all of that, I am gonna say this. These lessons are all meaningless if you have not gotten clear about what your mission and your purpose is. And I've been there in the season. I've been there in life, and this isn't a you figure it out once and then you're done figuring it out. This is a constant figuring out. This is a constant refinding and unlocking. But if you don't have a mission, these lessons can't be applied to. You don't have a purpose. These lessons can't be applied to anything. And today, a friend of mine, a great friend of mine, reminded me, I say great because his heart was postured. The advice he was giving was coming from such a, I want to see you do better place. And it can be felt like it's just, he's on a mission. His mission is to help people. And today I got to be one of the people that he served. And it was this reminder that you've got to tap in, that instead of looking for your answers always externally, quiet the noise. And that's interesting because I'm the guy who, you guys are getting my emails, you're getting my text messages, you're seeing me on Instagram, you're seeing me on YouTube. Like I'm doing my best to get in front of you as often as possible. Think about this. Isn't this a little paradoxical? I literally spend time, energy, and effort trying to figure out how to put myself in front of more of you, how to get you to hit the like button, how to get you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, how to get you to come into my community to do coaching with me. Like I literally go after getting your attention. And then when I have your attention, what do I tell you? Crazy thing is, I tell you that now that I have your attention, I want you to turn your attention inward. I want you to focus now on your intuition. I want you to focus on that connection that you have to God, that connection that you have to your higher self, that connection that you have to the divine, that internal connection that guides you, that internal GPS that guides you. And it's so interesting, right? Because like guys, like that's something you already have. Like I'm trying to sell you something that doesn't have a price tag. I'm trying to sell you something that I literally can't swipe your credit card to give to you. Something I'm trying to sell you something that you already possess. I'm trying to sell you on you. And so these lessons I shared with y'all, they're great, but they're meaningless if you don't get to know yourself. And so this is going to be the final note I end this on here tonight because I think this is kind of what's on my heart. And, before I came on here, I did like a little prayer just asking, God, if you got something to say through me, say it through me tonight. And it's going to be this: your job, your mission in life is to seek out truth. It's the old, it's funny. I shared this a little while ago. I was rewatching the movie The Matrix. And there's a scene in The Matrix that I didn't notice the first couple of times I watched. I didn't. And it's the scene where Neo, the first Matrix, where Neo is brought to the Oracle. And if you guys remembered, she's in the kitchen, she's baking the cookies, and Neo is brought to her. And, while he's in there, he's talking to her and he's trying to explain to her that, like, I'm not the one. I'm sorry, lady. You guys got the wrong guy. Like, I'm not the one. And she points to a sign above his head and she says, take a look at what that sign says on the wall. And it's written in Latin, so he can't read it. And she says, that sign says, know thyself. Know thyself. Spend your life learning who you are. Because right now, you're the subject matter expert on planet Earth on you. Nobody, except for your creator, knows you better than you. But how well do you actually know yourself? How often do you sit down and check in with yourself and unplug and disconnect? Right? Like the world is getting more and more interconnected. Information is flying through faster and faster and faster. And I love the internet. The internet's changed my life. I love social media, all these things. These are all amazing, wonderful, fun tools that let us connect and play and do all the fun stuff. However, make sure that you're taking time to turn it all off, disconnect, and check in with you. So, guys, these are the lessons that I'm hoping you resonate with. Now we're gonna wrap up. I know we're wrapping up 5 minutes early here tonight. I don't even think we're at the top of the hour, but we're almost there. But it's all good. We're gonna wrap up here a little bit early. But I do have a major, major ask for you, and it's the same ask as every week, which is if you got value from tonight's episode, do me a favor. I want you to, if you really got value, like I want to take a gauge of this because this is how I'm going to figure out if this is something that I want to share more on this channel, which is like this video if you actually got value. Now, if you watched it, you thought it was entertaining, but it wasn't really meaningful to you, it wasn't purpose for you, do me a favor, don't hit the like, don't hit the thumbs up button because I'm going to go back and I'm going to see like, okay, great. We had 25 people live on YouTube and there's only 2 likes, or there's 5 thumbs up, or there's 10 thumbs up. It's just going to give me a gauge. Second thing is if you really got value from this, if it really spoke to you in some way, shape, or form, do me a favor, screenshot this and tag me on Instagram because I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to DM you after you tag me on Instagram. And I just want to know what your takeaway was, what resonated with you. I just want to have that conversation, even if I'm only talking to one person or if I'm talking to 20 of you guys. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode of Think Big. Next week, we will be back, Sam and I. So you guys enjoy the rest of the week. I appreciate you all for being here. And I'll see you back here next Tuesday for another episode of the Think Big podcast.